Welcome to Don't Retire, Graduate, the podcast that teaches you how to advance into retirement rather than retreating. I'm your host and valedictorian, Eric Brotman, and today we have a very special guest who is going to wow us and have us experiencing incredible wanderlust, looking for places in this world to visit and go and to help us with our bucket lists. So with that, allow me to introduce Estee Gubbay. Estee, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. I love nothing more than talking about traveling the world in retirement.
Well, and maybe even not in retirement. Retirement.
Don't wait.
I mean, I'm looking at your travel bucket list book called The Ultimate Guide and Workbook to Plan a Lifetime of Journeys.
Yes.
And the cover is Bora Bora. Mm-hmm. And I'm very disappointed to say that is not where our interview is happening this morning.
We'll just pretend we're in an overwater bungalow looking out at the mountain.
Sounds great. So tell us about you and how you got into not only the travel industry, but also how you got to be writing a book that I am absolutely excited to own.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different than most people in the travel industry. First of all, I'm a travel advisor. Many of you might call me a travel agent. We recently changed that title because we were giving away so much advice these days to book things. It used to be before the internet, you can just walk into a travel agency, they'd hand you a brochure, you'd say, yeah, that looks good, book it for me, right? And we just book something on the computer. But now, actually, I think the internet made it harder for everybody to book travel because there's so much opportunity, so much information to take in to decide what you're going to do on your trips, right? I love information. I love learning new things. And I started traveling early on when I was a student at NYU. I wanted to go on a spring break trip, but I didn't have any money for a spring break trip. But I wrote it down as one of my goals because I'm a big goal setter. And lo and behold, a few days later, I saw a flyer in the library that said, if you host a group to spring break in Cancun, you can go for free. And that's what I did. And that was the beginning of my travel career. But, it was fun. I did. I brought a whole group. I went for free. I brought my roommate for free. And I've been to Cancun more times than I can count since then.
Okay, I have to ask you this, and I'm always careful to ask anyone, but particularly a woman, how old she is. But I'm wondering if we're contemporaries. What year was spring break? Am I allowed to ask that on the air?
I don't know what year it was. Let me think. It was probably like 1990. I want to say, right. Yeah.
I was in Cancun.
So if that gives you an idea, I'm right there. Yeah, you were there too, wasn't it?
I was in Cancun in 1992 on spring break. I think we may have seen the same flyer, although I went with 25 fraternity brothers, and what I remember of that trip was spectacular.
What you remember, yeah. See, if you just had the foresight to plan that ahead, you could have been the host and you could have gone for free too.
I could have. You're absolutely right.
We could still book something like that. Grab some friends. We'll go somewhere.
Oh my gosh! So yes, Cancun was the place to be in the early '90s for spring breakers, and I'm glad to say if we were there the same year, I think we had a ball. So good time. Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but when I heard that, I was like, oh gosh, we've definitely been to some of the same places for sure.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
After that, I didn't become a travel advisor right away. I did some other things. I was an actress, and I did lots of HR, human resources, and then I started doing all these corporate retreats. And then I became a retreat facilitator. So I was doing lots of workshops on self-development and personal growth, finding balance in your life, finding fulfillment. And through that, I started doing travel again because I thought, well, I could take these trips on the road, right? I don't need to do these here. San Diego's a beautiful place, but we could do these retreats anywhere. So that's how I got back into travel. And that's also a great way to kind of segue into my book because if you talk to people who are in that industry, the self-development industry, everybody writes a book, right? That's the way you do things. You write a book to show your expertise, to give to your clients. And I just knew, even though I was a travel agent, that there was a way to do that in this industry too. And I had something to say from that point of view.
By the time this show goes live, the book will be out. It's in pre-order as we're recording, but it'll be out. Tell us
Yep.
about it and where to get it and why we should get it, because I already know. Just from seeing the cover, I already know I want it. But tell us about how it works and what's in it.
Okay, so the reason that this book is special and why you need it, and especially why it works for your people, your listeners, is that it's not just a book about how to plan your next vacation, right? You don't need a book for that. You can get a travel agent to do that. You can book it online. What it is a book about digging deep into what you want out of your whole future in travel, essentially that travel bucket list. So I walk you through that process. It's a step-by-step guide with questions and discussions and beautiful pictures to inspire you. And, there's lists of things to do, but it's all about what you want to get out of your travel. And then let's put together a plan. So very much the same way that you would go to a financial advisor and put together your portfolio with your money, you want to do the same thing with your leisure time, because it's just as precious. Am I right?
It may be more so. It's
right.
definitely
So you
finite.
need both.
Money doesn't
Right.
always feel finite, but free time does, for sure.
Yeah, right. So I say take the same effort you put into your retirement financial plan and put that into travel, which is one of the greatest benefits of being in retirement, the ability, if you plan right, to travel. But you don't need to just book Cancun because you've heard Cancun is good, right? Or go to Bora Bora because you see a pretty picture. You want to go deeper, and then you want to pick a few places, maybe like 3 to 6. In my book, I actually say 10, and forget about the destinations. What I want you to think about is, like I said, what you want to do there, what you want to accomplish, what kind of memories do you want to create there? So we talk about those things. We talk about your hobbies that you have right now, who you might want to bring along with you on your trips. Are there special occasions that you might want to celebrate, like a special birthday or an anniversary where you might want to bring a group of your family or friends with you? These kind of moments make for better memories, right? And the experiences that you're having on vacation are what's really important to those memories too. We can all go find a place to sit on a beach and have a cocktail. That's easy. You don't need me for that. But to have a truly memorable experience, something that's really exciting and adds to your life and is, just brings up new interests that you have and new things that, new hobbies that you might want to get better at. These are things you got to plan ahead for. So, that's basically the book. We talk about that. And then after we know all that, what your goals and dreams are for your travel life, then we start picking locations that match that. And only then. And it's not necessarily the obvious choice. It's not because it's not the place you saw on Instagram last that had the pretty picture. It's what's the best place to do that particular activity. So, for instance, we're talking about Cancun earlier. Well, if you like to scuba, right, you may say, well, Cancun is a famous place. There's a Great Barrier, it's not the Great Barrier Reef, but it's second to the Great Barrier Reef as far as the ecological marine reserve in that area. I know Cancun, right? But then you think, well, I don't really want to stay in Cancun. Where else can I go that might be even better and, less touristy, right? So what about Tulum? Tulum is maybe 2 hours south of Cancun. It's still on that ecological reserve, and it's where the actual rainforest meets the sea. And it's a totally different, very authentic, very eco-friendly area. So there's places you can go where you find more meaning in those trips. You don't have to be at that same spring break place you stayed at 30 years ago.
I assure you, I would not stay there now.
But
I don't even know where it was,
like
but I would not stay there.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like I said, you think about what does it the best. Like, okay, so there's great scuba diving down further. You can go to Belize. A lot of people don't know anything about Belize, but it has some of the best scuba diving in the world. Or Fiji. I have a story in the book where my family and I, my daughter, at the time was 12. And she was really into sharks and saving sharks from extinction. She was putting posters around the neighborhood and stuff like that. And I said, okay, what do I do with this skill? This interest she has right now, because, kids, their interests come and go, right? So we got scuba certified in our pool and 6 months later, we were in Fiji swimming with sharks. And it was awesome.
You took your 12-year-old daughter swimming with sharks?
She took me, I swear. But I won't explain to you, but it was relatively safe. That's all I'm going to say. They had a really nice setup, okay? The sharks knew the deal. The place we went to was called the Bistro. It was like a cafe. They came there for their tuna treats. They lined up kind of in a circle and swam in a circle in front of us.
These were domesticated sharks.
Yes, they were.
No, I'm sorry. No. I have a daughter who will be 11 shortly, and I promised, just so you know, because you already have a new client, and that's me, for my 50th, which is a year or so from now, I promised I would take everyone to Hawaii. And the reason for that is that's where we honeymooned years and years ago, and my daughter wants to sort of see where it all began. Not in any literal way; it'll be a different trip clearly than a honeymoon would. But I certainly want to do that, and we did use a travel agent, and it did make a difference because we had no idea how to plan that, despite the internet. Yes, you can look things up,
sure.
But nonetheless, we will not be swimming with sharks.
Well, you don't have to swim with sharks, but let me tell you now, do you think that my daughter ever thinks that she can't do something now? She's 17. No. She wants to be president one day. She has no fear of anything. She swam with sharks when she was 12.
Fair. So what's her platform? Because I may write her in as a vote this year.
She's actually on staff for Sarah Jacobs for Congress, and she's making those phone calls all day, talking to people. And,
oh my goodness! At 17, really good for
fearless.
Her.
Yeah, she's fearless. I'm not kidding. This stuff works. This works. This is how you should raise your family, not just in retirement travel, but family travel. It makes a difference when you think about what do you want to teach your children about life, and we taught her bravery early on when we were ziplining. Actually, that's a Cancun story too. Our first time ziplining was in Playa de Carmen, which is the resort just north of Cancun, which is beautiful and has every type of adventure theme park you could imagine, and one of my favorite places to send people. And even this week there was a hurricane there, but my families that were there all had a fantastic time. There's just so much to do. But back to your story about Hawaii, right? So yes, you're thinking Hawaii. You're thinking, well, it's a romantic place. What am I going to do? Where did you book it? Which island?
We haven't booked it yet. It's more than a year off. Okay. And so, like I said, you have a new client. We were in Kauai and we were in Maui. And I thoroughly enjoyed Kauai because it was peaceful and active and quiet, other than the roosters. But Maui to me felt like Orlando. It was prettier.
Yes.
But it's
because
Orlando.
Everybody knows Maui. Everybody knows Maui. Yeah. You know what? I went to Maui so many times. Now I'm on the West Coast in California, and we go to Hawaii a lot. And I had been to Hawaii, Kauai, back and forth. And no one ever mentioned the Big Island. I heard at some point that the beaches weren't as nice, and I never went. And one year, we said, let's check it out. And this is what I'm saying. If you pick an island not based on what's most popular, but what you want to do, right? I had heard that on the Big Island you could swim with dolphins. So you see now, you see a little thread here, right? Our family likes to swim with marine mammals. That's one of our things.
Have you been to running with the bulls yet?
I draw the line there. I don't know. I have a sense of safety in the water for some reason, but
I see. Sharks are much safer than bulls. Check. Okay, got it. I see how that works.
They're smart, and they know that big trunk of tuna is there for them, and that I don't taste as good as the tuna. And I know that they know that, so... And I had a stick in my hand just in case. But anyway, I don't know how much that would help. But for instance, okay, that's what they had. The masters, the dive masters, all had these big sticks that look like canes that they apparently just poke the sharks if they get too close. I thought that was outrageous. But anyway, dolphins that you could swim with, right? Also so in that area, let's get off that topic because no one's going to trust me. if they keep hearing about the sharks.
Well,
But,
you live to tell about it, so maybe it's all right.
I did. I'm telling you, it was an experience. But in Kona, the island, the town on the Big Island, they have a lot of manta rays in the water, and very similar to how the sharks know to come for food in Fiji in a certain spot. Well, the manta rays come every night to this area that they call the campsite. And what you do is you scuba, but it's only 30 feet deep, and it's kind of like a little campfire. And the actual fire of the camp is everybody's flashlights, right? So you take your flashlight and you put it in there, and then these giant 12-foot wide span manta rays come there because with the light, they can now see the plankton to eat it. So they dance around this campfire like a ballet. And you just sit there, and they have no teeth. They're hollow inside, much safer than obviously the sharks. And they do a beautiful dance above your heads. It's the most unworldly scene that I've ever been to. And I actually sent the family there. Yeah, isn't it? And that
sounds amazing. Although, isn't that what happened to the crocodile hunter? Wasn't that a manta ray that did in the crocodile hunter?
That was a stingray. They have sharp pointers. Manta rays are just one big piece of hollow. They're like a floating beach umbrella.
I see. So we're getting travel advice and marine biology today. This is a multi.
You get my point, right?
Yes,
you get
I
my
do.
point. You look at what do you want to do. So we, as a family, we decided one of our hobbies was scuba diving. And so that's what became important to us. So each year now we had a little bit of a theme. So each year we'd say, where are we going to go on vacation this year? Well, what do we want to see? What kind of marine mammal haven't we seen yet? So instead of going, for instance, to Cabo, which we had been to, 10 times, Cabo San Lucas in Mexico, we went to La Paz because La Paz is famous in that bay for having whale sharks, which are very, very harmless, no teeth, also eat plankton. And if you're lucky enough and you swim really fast, you can swim with them. You just kind of jump in the water as they go by and try to keep up for a few seconds. And we did that there. So, you can have this kind of theme with if you like to cycle, if you like to cook, if there's something that you don't know how to do at all, but you want to learn, you could do it now on Zoom. You could do everything from your home, but people are traveling again. So why not do that? Why not cook, learn how to make pasta in Italy, rather than at home?
That's amazing. All right, let me shift gears a little bit because certainly one of the things that we talk about on our show and that we talk about with our clients and the families we represent is the idea of not only a bucket list, but reaching financial independence and finding purpose and finding meaning and really having meaningful experiences. I've certainly, we're at the age, I'm saying we colloquially, but we're at the age where experiences mean much more than stuff. It's definitely not about stuff. And bringing something home from travel can be meaningful. So, I went to Churchill, Manitoba, and because I wanted to photograph polar bears in the wild. It was an incredible trip. And I went to one of the local art stores and I bought local artist work, and I bought an Inukshuk, which is a statue, a rock statue, and it's not huge, but they're all different sizes. But it's a rock statue that means togetherness, and it reminds me of the trip, and it's on my desk, and I liked it so much I eventually ordered another one for home. But it just makes me feel like I'm back in Manitoba, of all things, on the Arctic Circle, walking on the tundra. Totally amazing. We encourage our clients to do, not only to have that bucket list, and my new book has a bucket list portion there. It's in the workbook and things to do, and some of that will be travel. It is one of the things retirees talk about the most. They talk about grandchildren and travel. And so certainly those are the big things. And a lot of times travel involves the grandchildren. So, I do think there's some, we're kindred spirits in that way, Estee. Sometimes we find that people put off those trips, and some of it's they feel too busy, or they feel like they have other financial responsibilities, or they're waiting for the rainy day. And I have seen in my quarter-century career, I've seen entirely too many people build significant wealth and never take the trip, either because they get sick or because they're no longer fit to do what they would have done, or because their spouse has died and they don't want to go without him or her, or, I mean, it's one thing to plan ahead. It's another thing to live. And I think there's got to be some balance. So, some of the trips that you help folks plan are probably once in a lifetime round the world excursions. And some of them are probably much more modest in scope, and they're doable during your 2 weeks off in a given year.
Yes, of course.
So how do you balance, and I'm asking you the $1 million question, how do you balance between the frequency of trips as opposed to planning the big one 8 years from now that you might not even be around to do?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when you work with people on their financial plan, you have long-term savings goals and some riskier, shorter term, things that they can do maybe to make money right now. Right. And we do the same thing. I literally put together a portfolio with my clients of their travels. And I actually have another product called Wanderlust, which is kind of like a Netflix style computer program. And I go in there with them, much like the book is kind of the DIY version of planning your bucket list. Wanderlust is the heavily vamped, computer version of it. And we sit down and we talk about all those trips and we can budget them. So if you do a budget, if you do a long-term plan, you can budget for some ways to save money. For instance, if you realize now these are the 10 trips I want to take, well, 2 of those trips may be really good matches to take in the same time because of flights and things like that. You could save thousands of dollars on your flights if you combine the 2 cities. And it's not necessarily the obvious, stopover city. But cost-wise, with the airlines, there's a way. I have an algorithm in that program that figures those things out. So you can pretty much budget with me all your trips at once and all the small ones. And if you just have it written down, it's not set in stone, but it reminds you, of when you have those opportunities to take those smaller trips. So in the book, I talk about what are some small moments that might be a good time to take a trip? Like, are there some places that might be perfect for a weekend getaway? Is there an anniversary that you want to throw in there for a nice short trip? People now are doing, they call them micro vacations. They're going away for a night or 2 and coming back. Where can you fit those in? So when you have a good solid plan, you can plan for those types of trips. And it's fun to do. It does take some time early on, like it does with, planning your financial portfolio. But when you finally have something on paper that you can look at, and like I said, you could change it. Now it's not just a dream any longer. It's a plan. And it has a timeline. And you could, it just more doable. For me, and even for my clients, if I know that they have, let's say, an African safari on their list, and maybe they're not going for 3 years or something, right? If I'm at a trade show and there's hundreds of vendors there from all over the world, and I meet one that does an African safari, I know now to talk to that person, and I talk to that person about my specific family. Even though I know they're not going in 3 months, it's exciting for me to talk about that trip and to say, well, that boy will be about 12 at that point. What would you do to make it fun for a 12-year-old boy on a safari? Even though he's 9 right now. And it's the same for you. When you have that kind of, more than tentative list in your mind and on paper, now you can enjoy, when you see a movie about Italy, you can say, oh, I'm going to be in Italy in 4 years. Or you see something about Southern California and next summer I'm going to be in Southern California. It just makes life more interesting.
So how do you describe sort of who your profile clients are? I mean, I'm sure there's great variety and diversity and so forth, but what types of clients, I guess let's do this. What types of clients do you thoroughly enjoy working with the most? Who are the folks that you wake up in the morning excited to talk to?
Oh, that's easy. I love to plan multi-generational celebration travel. That's actually a niche. And
Amazing. Okay.
and what that means is that there's typically, sometimes it's the adult children, but most of the time it's actually the head of the house. So the grandparent, typically the grandmother, who is having a 70th and 80th, even a 90th birthday coming up. And they've, like you said, they've planned their retirement money. They have a big chunk of money saved up, and now they're like, well, I haven't seen my whole family together in forever. I'd like to splurge on this birthday and take everybody on a vacation. And I book these a lot. And so you're talking about, one or two, parents, and let's say in their 80 or 90 years old, their adult children, maybe they have 3 or 4 adult children and all the grandkids going on a trip together, right? That's hard to plan. And that 60-year-old mother planning for her parents or those grandparents, maybe that's overwhelming for them, right? Sometimes it's overwhelming for me. How do you plan a trip for that, right? How do you plan something that's going to be fun for everybody? How do you stay within budget? Where do you go? What do you do? So I just enjoy those trips. I enjoy that there's a big celebration involved. I enjoy making it fun for whoever the birthday person of honor is. And I get to plan some really cool activities for them. So like, for instance, one family, the grandparents were in San Francisco and the kids are spread out, the adult kids are spread out all over the US. And the grandmother really loved to cook. And, once in a while she'd have like one family over for Thanksgiving dinner and like maybe another, child and the grandkids over for another holiday, but she couldn't get them all together at the same time. And she loved to be in the kitchen with her family. That's what she described to me as the kind of memory she wanted to create. So I put them in an all-inclusive hotel so that she wouldn't have to do all the work, right? You would think I'd put her in at like a rental or something, some kind of rental house so they could all be in the same house. But that would be torture for this poor woman, right? So we put her in a vacation rental. Instead of a vacation rental, we put her in an all-inclusive where she didn't have to do anything. But we booked several meals where, they had the back room to themselves. So they had those big family dinners. And I booked an experience for all of them. It was 16 of them to learn how to cook. So they went and they all dressed up in, they all had their aprons on and these sun hats, and they had a cooking class with everybody together, and then the big meal. And I got back this picture of like all 16 of them in these outfits with their, their plates in their hands. And it just made me so happy.
I'm enthralled, and I have 50 more questions for you. So I know because our show is only half an hour, I could talk to you for 3 days. So we're going to talk offline for sure.
Well, this is my favorite subject, so no problem.
Well, it's quickly becoming my favorite subject because we do a lot of multi-generational planning, and we work with 3 and 4 generations of families. And one of the things we try to do is create legacies and experiences and memories as opposed to just stuff. And this is really aligned well with some of the things that we recommend to clients, including things like doing legacy videos and having these, digitizing some of the things that you don't want to lose, and the stories and the all the history. There's so much of that, and this plays into that beautifully. And I can also see it as a celebratory thing for couples, for milestones, for grandpa. And there's so many different things. But we will talk offline. We're at the point in our show where I need an extra credit assignment, and I don't even know where to begin, other than I'm going to be a proud pre-order of your book in roughly 6 minutes. What would the one takeaway be? What would the one piece of advice you have be for our listeners who maybe are thinking that travel is one of their important pieces of their retirement and their financial independence and their future and their family and their life? What would your one piece of advice be if we had to break it down into one?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything we've been talking about. It's make a plan, make a solid travel plan. That's it. Even if it does, I don't want it to be this, but even if it's just one piece of paper with a list of 10 things you want to do in relation to travel. Better than that, I say, of course, shameless plug, get my book. It's a guide. I have a workbook like you do too, like a complimentary workbook where you can, put all this down with worksheets and things like that. But in the end, I have, if you want real homework, I have the worksheets at the end that talk about the bucket list trips. So you're going to write down the name of your trip, where you want to go, what activities you want to do, what kind of travel do you want to have? Is it on a boat? Is it on a train? Is it on a beach? And then why you want to do that trip. And then one more question, what memories you hope to create on that trip. And if you walk around with that list, you can make it happen. But until you write those things down, it's just a dream.
We preach that no one likes homework and everyone likes extra credit. So I'm not going to allow myself to think of that as homework. I'm considering your entire workbook extra credit because it sounds like the outcome will be so worth the time spent and the effort on it. So how can people get in touch with you? Where can they learn more about your business, your book? Where can they get a copy? How do folks reach out to you?
Sure. So the name of my agency is Luxurist Travel. And I know that confuses some people because they hear luxurious, but it's Luxurist. So Luxurist Travel. That's my website. You can email me at Estee@luxurioustravel.com. You can find me on Instagram at Luxurious Travel. You could probably do a Google search on Luxurious Travel. And I don't think anybody else is named Estee Gubbay either. So that may be a way to find me.
You're only the second Estee I've heard of. And the other is in cosmetics. So I think we're okay.
Right. There you go. That now, just no accent. I took the accent off. That was a little bit too much for me. So if you remember the makeup line, Estee Lauder, you could probably find me somewhere on the internet as well.
Very good. And where can folks get a copy of this book and begin their extra credit?
Yeah, so for sure it's going to be on Amazon or anywhere you can go online. There'll be a Kindle version as well. I think it's important, though, if you have the book, to maybe get the print copy of the book and come to my website to get the worksheets. You can either go right now and just get like the 2 kind of worksheets that are kind of the end of the book and just get that homework banged out now. Or later you can get the entire book, which is really more of the discussions and the guides. And my actual book is, you haven't actually seen it yet. I know you've seen the manuscript, but the book itself looks like something like a travel guide, even though, we say it's not a guide to specific places. I have beautiful, inspiring pictures in there as well. It makes a nice kind of coffee table book, a nice gift for the holidays. So so seek it out, your travel bucket list, Estee Gubbay, and find me at luxurioustravel.com.
I plan to do that momentarily. And I thank you so much for being a guest. You were an amazing guest. I hope folks are going to check out this book, check out the social media sites and the website, and really start to make the travel bucket list part of the big picture for financial independence, for retirement, and for graduation.
It should be. It's an important part of your future.
So for all of our listeners, please subscribe to our podcast, post comments and reviews. Don't Retire, Graduate is now a book available in print, Kindle, and audio formats. For more information or to order your copy, go to brotmanmedia.com/books or search for Eric Brotman on Amazon.com. To learn more about BFG Financial Advisors, visit us on social media or at bfgfa.com. We'll be back next week with another installment of Office Hours, and in 2 weeks with another engaging guest. For now, this is your host, Eric Brotman, reminding you, don't retire, graduate.
From this day forward, let us begin visualizing our dreams and building our futures. Today, I implore you, don't retire, graduate. Visit our website at don'tretiregraduate.com to subscribe. And please like us and post comments on social media. Securities offered through Kestra Investment Services, LLC, Kestra IS, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Kestra Advisory Services, LLC, Kestra AS, an affiliate of Kestra IS. Kestra IS or Kestra AS are not affiliated with Brotman Financial or any other entity discussed.